We are on Genesis 39. We did Genesis 38, which have to deal with Judah and Tamar. Previously was on 37. It talks about Joseph's dream and his brother's scheme, which is closely related to 39. And on 37, we learn that Joseph's brother had sold him to some Ishmaelite when some Midianite traders were passing by. They drew Joseph up, lifting him out of the pit and sold him to the Ishmaelite for 20 pieces of silver. And they took Joseph to Egypt. Okay? And when they took Joseph to Egypt, meanwhile the Midianite has sold him in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. That's where we first left off. Now, on verse 39, it reads like this. Now Joseph was taken down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the captain of the guard, an Egyptian, brought him from the Ishmaelites, who had brought him down there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he became a successful man. He was in the house of his Egyptian master. His master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord caused all that he did to prosper in his hand. So Joseph found favor in his sight and attended him. He made him overseer of his house and put him in charge of all that he had. From the time that he made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, the Lord blessed the Egyptian house for Joseph's sake. The blessing of the Lord was on all that he had, in house and field. Verse 6. So he left all that he had in Joseph's charge, and with him there, he had no concern for anything but the food that he ate. Now Joseph was handsome and good looking, and after a time his master's wife cast her eyes on Joseph and said, "Lie with me." But he refused and said to his master's wife, "Look, with me here, my master has no concern about anything in the house, and he has put everything that he has in my hand. He is not greater in this house than I am, nor has he kept back anything from me except yourself, because you are his wife. How then would I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" And although she spoke to Joseph day after day, he would not consent to lie beside her or to be with her. Verse 11. One day, however, when he went into the house to do his work, and while no one else was in the house, she caught hold of his garment, saying, "Lie with me." But he left his garment in her hand and fled and ran outside. When she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and had fled outside, she called out to the members of her household and said to them, "See, my husband has brought among us a Hebrew to insult us. He came in to me to lie with me, and I cried out with a loud voice. And when he heard me raise my voice and cry out, he left his garment beside me and fled outside. Then she kept his garment by her until his master came home. And she told him the same story, saying, the Hebrew servant whom you have brought among us came in to me and insulted me. But as soon as I raised my voice and cried out, he left his garment beside me and fled outside." 19. When his master heard the words that his wife spoke to him, saying, "This is the way your servant treated me," he became enraged, and Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, the place where the king prisoners were confined. He remained there in prison, but the Lord was with Joseph and showed him steadfast love. He gave him favor in the sight of the chief jailer. 22. The chief jailer committed to Joseph's care all the prisoners who were in the prison, and whatever was done there, he was the one who did it. The chief jailer paid no heed to anything that was in Joseph's care, because the Lord was with him, and whatever he did, the Lord made it prosper. Now, let's review it for a moment, explain it a little bit. 39, verse 1 to 23. Joseph and Potiphar's wife. The story of Joseph resumed after the interlude with Tamar and Judah. In verse 1, Pharaoh is the title for the king of Egypt. Verse 2, the refrain, "The Lord was with Joseph," begin and conclude this episode in verse 21 and also verse 23. In verse 7 to 20, some parallel exists between this scene and an ancient Egyptian story entitled "A Tale of Two Brothers." A man resists the sexual invitation of his brother's wife, but then is falsely accused. In other words, Joseph was falsely accused. But what I like about this story is that Joseph could have easily lied with her, lay with her and have sex, enjoy himself, and no one would have known. But he said, how can I do this great wickedness, injustice, evilness, unrighteousness, unholiness to my master? Not only to my master, but to my God. Sometimes we need to think before we do things. Joseph was thinking, how could I do such an evil thing to my God, which is above his master? You understand? Think about before you do something, how would God feel? Would God be pleased with the way you do and what you're going to do? Think before you act. Think before you sleep with someone. Is it holy? Is it godly? Is it your spouse? Jesus said, I have control over everything, but I don't have control over you because you are not my spouse. You are not my husband. You are not my wife. You are not nothing to me. You're not even my concubine. Do you understand? You're not even my concubine. So therefore, I can't even lay down with you. Because I don't have control over you. You're not even my slave. You don't belong to me. I don't have control over you. Think before you lay down with someone. Okay? So when she said that she could not have her way, she framed him for rape, for attempted rape. Okay. May the peace of God be with you. May your words be truthful, because your words have consequences. And we're going to see what's coming up next as we go along the rest of the book of Genesis. May the peace of God be with you. May you remain holy the way Jesus asked you to be holy. We're going to read about that later on too. Be holy as he expects you to be holy. We're going to read that later on. If you didn't have time, if you did not have time to go over Genesis 1 to Genesis 38 before you get to Genesis 39, which is what we are right now, take the time to go over it so you understand the stories and how it relates to everything that's going on right now. Peace be with you. May the blessing of the Lord be upon you and your home and your household. In Jesus' name.
Amen.